What's up, folks, and welcome back to Dyce Reacts, where we are staying in Australia tonight. We are going to be checking out top 4 most affordable Australian cities to live in that won't bankrupt you. Paramount side checks one out. We ain't going to waste no more time. We're just going to get right into it, folks. We're going to get right into it. Oh, yeah.
Many of you have been asking me, oh, I want to move to Australia, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford it, or I'm worried about rent prices, the housing crisis, or what should I do? So in this video, we're going to talk about the most affordable capital cities in Australia, drawing on housing, food, and transport costs. And hopefully this will give you a better perspective to explore different alternatives across Australia. Another thing that I want to clarify is that in this video, we're going to use the city of Sydney as a reference, considering that today Sydney is the most expensive Australian city. Okay. So with all that said, let's get started. Now, number 1 in the list is Hobart. Hobart is today Australia's cheapest capital city to live in. As way of overview, Hobart is located on the southeast coast of Tasmania and is Australia's second oldest city after Sydney. And what makes Hobart unique, in my opinion, is its beautiful landscapes full of nature, mountains and views, especially from Mount Wellington. And of course, another thing that makes this beautiful city very special is its unique art scene with the Mona Museum. A must-see if you go visit. It's, I think, the most bizarre place that I've been to, but so cool. And of course, Hobart and Tasmania as a whole, overall, they're very well known for its food and wineries. Yeah, I do think that it adds to the quality of living in this city and this region. Now let's talk about housing costs in Hobart. To give you a reference as way of comparison, according to the most recent data published by Finder, Sydney is 52% more expensive than Hobart when it comes to housing costs. The median weekly rent in Hobart for a house is $580 Australian dollars per week and $522 per week for a unit or apartment. And the median price for buying is currently at $841,500. Now, when it comes to transport, Hobart has been found to be 57% cheaper than Sydney. Again, the difference is significant. And as way of reference, a monthly public transport ticket in Hobart will cost you roughly 86 Australian dollars. And for food and grocery costs, Hobart is consistent with other Australian cities, so there's no big difference here. Okay. Now, if you want a more detailed breakdown about cost of living across Australia and national averages, I highly recommend watching this video here. I have a full dedicated video to cost of living. Now, the second cheapest Australian city is Adelaide, coming closely after Hobart in terms of affordability. Now, as way of overview again, Adelaide is the capital city of South Australia and is most well known for its festivals, art scene and work.
If I'm correct, Adelaide, they have a AFL team. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's how I've heard the name Adelaide. Yeah. I don't know if the anthem for the team, I don't know what I gave it. I don't know if it sucked or not, but I was doing a list. I was reacting to some of the songs, well, all the songs from the AFL teams, and some of those I gave a 0. I don't know if it's one of those, but I'm gonna leave the link at the end of this video so you can check this out.
World-class wineries nearby. The city of Adelaide, in my opinion, is very beautiful, full of green, lots of parks around and historical buildings, which really surprised me when I first visited this city. And something that I noticed as well is that it's a very quiet city. You don't really see many people walking around, even during weekdays. We were there and it was pretty quiet. So if you're looking for a very chilled kind of lifestyle, Adelaide perhaps is the alternative for you. Now, in terms of housing costs, to give you an idea, Sydney is 48.51% more expensive than Adelaide. And across Australia, Adelaide is the cheapest city for housing, although this report notes that it has some of the highest utilities, internet and household goods costs in the country. Now, the median weekly rent in Adelaide for a house is $570 per week and $520 per week for a unit or an apartment. So as you can see, there's not really much difference between renting a house or renting a unit or apartment in Adelaide. From what I've seen though, in the city of Adelaide, you mainly find high-rise buildings. Now, if you're considering buying a house in Adelaide, the median price is 900,000 Australian dollars. So basically almost reaching 1 million, which it's insane. And I say it's insane because this is still one of the most affordable cities in Australia, but house prices there are almost borderline the million. So it's interesting. Now, in terms of transport costs, Adelaide is 48% cheaper than Sydney. So again, it's almost half the price. A public transport ticket in Adelaide will cost you roughly 103 Australian dollars per month. And when it comes to grocery costs, Adelaide seems to be consistent again with all Australian cities. So there you have it. This is Adelaide. Now, the third capital city in our list is Darwin. Now, as way of overview, Darwin is the capital city of Northern Territory. Darwin is most well known for its rich indigenous culture and history, as well as its outdoor lifestyle, adventure activities. And as way of reference, Darwin's cost of living when it comes to housing is 50% less than Sydney's. And when it comes to renting, you can expect to pay between 500 to 600 Australian dollars per week for a place in Darwin. And for buying, the median price is 415,000 Australian dollars. Having said that, data is not super consistent. And when I saw these figures, I actually did a bit of research to make sure that these figures really matched. And indeed, there are some apartments that go for 3-bedroom apartments that go for $1 million, which is insane. And other 2-bedroom apartments perhaps are going for 400,000. So everything depends, but the median price from what I found is about 415,000 Australian dollars. Now, Darwin is the cheapest major city for transport, so much so that it's 68% cheaper than Sydney. And again, as way of reference, a monthly public transport ticket in Darwin will cost you around 63 Australian dollars. Now, when it comes to food and groceries, again, prices in Darwin are consistent with other Australian cities and major states. So what I found in reality is that the most expensive city for food and groceries is actually Canberra. But then national averages in terms of grocery costs are pretty consistent across the whole country. And again, if you want a detailed breakdown of those costs, I have a dedicated video about that. Now, followed by Darwin is Perth. Perth is number 4 in our list. As way of overview, again, Perth is the capital city of Western Australia. Perth is most well known for its white sand beaches, beautiful coastline, sunshine almost all year round, unique wildlife like quokkas in Rottnest Island, as well as its rich Aboriginal history. Now, in terms of housing, as way of reference as well, Sydney is 45% more expensive than Perth when it comes to housing costs. Now, the median weekly rent in Perth for a house is 742 Australian dollars per week. And for a unit or an apartment is 550 per week. Now, if you want to buy a house in Perth, the median price is $855,000 for a house. And for an apartment, you can expect to pay about $425,000. Now, in terms of transport costs, Perth is 20% cheaper than Sydney. And to give you an idea, again, a public transport ticket in Perth will cost you roughly 160 Australian dollars per month. Now, just a few more interesting facts from this analysis to give you a nice comparison between cities in terms of affordability. As we said, Sydney is the most expensive Australian capital city overall. And to give you an idea again, it's 22% more expensive than Melbourne, 25% more expensive than Perth, 1% more expensive than Brisbane, so Brisbane is almost there, 49% more expensive than Adelaide, 21% more expensive than Hobart, 41% more than Darwin, and 13% more than Canberra. So interestingly enough, Brisbane is almost reaching the level in terms of cost of living as Sydney, which is fascinating, especially because I feel that this is a COVID effect. So this happened after the pandemic, but perhaps I'm wrong. So leave a comment below if you have more information about that. Now, Canberra, which is Australia's capital city, is the most expensive one, as I said, when it comes to food and grocery costs. And to give you an idea, Canberra is 8% more expensive than Melbourne and 26% more expensive than Darwin, just as way of reference. But the overall price difference across cities, again, it's minimal. And another surprising thing about Canberra is that today this city is the most expensive city for renting just after Sydney. And based on my research, it seems that this is the case because there's not enough supply of rental properties in Canberra. So in summary, Hobart and Adelaide are the most affordable capital cities in Australia, with Hobart being slightly cheaper than Adelaide. And something that I want to say again is that in this summary, in this breakdown of the most affordable cities, what we are considering is the cost of housing and essential goods and services. But what we're not considering is the cost of extras, such as paying for your kids' schools and university fees, going to the hairdresser, recreational activities, etc. Now, having said that, I suspect that the price differences across these services and goods is going to be minimal again across Australian cities.
I mean, Sydney is so expensive compared to the 4 cities that she mentioned. It was ridiculous. I love the comparison so we could get a really good idea for us outside of Australia. This was very thoughtful indeed. She really did her homework on that. And what that would have been nice if she added to it was the population, the size of the population for each city. But I'm going to check this out myself. This is something that is very easy to do. After this video, I'm going to check it out to see if there's something there. But some of those impacts can be due to, most likely due to the pandemic, where some places experience more difficulties, more high prices and other things than others. Hobart, I've never heard. The name sounds like an old type of name, and it's very old. Like she said, I think after Sydney is the second oldest. Yeah, it just sounds like a very, very ancient name, Hobart. I'm familiar with Tasmania, so they say it's not far from Tasmania. Every time I hear Tasmania, I think of the cartoon, the Tasmanian Devil. I don't know if you guys remember that. You Aussie fans supposed to remember that because it's Tasmanian Devil. I mean, I think it was an Australian type of cartoon, right? Well, not Australian, but like an Australian character in the cartoon. I can't remember exactly which series that it was featured in. It was not Looney Tunes. Was it part of Looney Tunes or something? I can't remember. But this was very popular back in my time. Yeah, Tasmanian Devil. Yeah, I don't think it was too bright, but I don't think that doesn't represent Australian people. No, don't get me wrong. But I don't think it was a bright in that cartoon. Yeah, I love the information she gave. Very, very good information. Certainly, I'm going to be checking out more from her. Don't get offended about the Tasmanian Devil thing. If you guys know more information about this cartoon, he was an Australian character, I would think. Right? Yeah. If you want to see that long channel action that I do, hit me over on Dyce Reacts where I do music reactions. This is where I'm going to be making my exit. So until next time, peace.